So it's Dr. Betsy, and we are here with another episode of Body, Mind, Spirit. So this is going to be a super fun conversation and just in time for Valentine's Day. So I am here with Lee Jagger, who is an erotic massage coach. Thank you so much, Lee, for being with us today.
Dr. Betsy, I am so honored to be here. Thank you. This is going to be a really juicy conversation, I can just tell.
So, yeah, how did you get into this field?
It was definitely not something I could have ever predicted for myself because I used to be a sexual wallflower. Like I did not know how to initiate. I didn't feel comfortable taking charge in the bedroom. I was not assertive. I didn't know how to touch a guy. Like I could receive foreplay, but I was not a good giver of foreplay. And erotic massage, it's all about the juicy foreplay. And so that was my whole adult life. Having sex was just intercourse. I just never felt comfortable. I preferred foreplay, but I didn't feel comfortable giving in the bedroom. I was a little bit selfish. So I found myself super, super broke a number of years ago, which enabled me to be open to a phone call that I received from this woman in response to my Craigslist ad for just regular massage. And she said, well, I just bought this massage office and looks like you've got some experience. Have you ever thought of erotic massage? And at the time, I'm like, for one thing, what the heck is erotic massage? Like, I wasn't really sure. So I said, is that what the happy ending? And she said, yes. And I said, yeah, no. Because I had all these preconceived ideas of the clientele I would have to deal with, the kind of person who would do such a job. I had a lot of judgment around that, but I was literally starving. I was so broke. I had a 10-year-old in tow at the time. So I thought, you know what? When she threw out the dollar figure of how much they made, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll try it for a couple of weeks. Just bite the bullet, just get ahead. And so I went in, and the first guy on the table, I'm thinking it's going to be an old creepy dude who has to pay someone to touch their body, right? And in a sensual way. But the guy on the table was in his early 30s. He was in the military, so great body. He was beautiful. Like I would date this guy. And it was so much easier than I thought. I had very inaccurate preconceived ideas of what that whole experience was. And what was initially a couple week trial ended up being 6 years worth of me doing that work. It wasn't just about the money. I actually really enjoyed it. And a couple months in, like I was so busy with work that I was literally getting carpal tunnel. Like my hands were cramping up. The happy ending part was actually the most stressful physically for my body because it's all fine motor skills with the fingers and the hands. And so I'm literally cramping up. And so what I had to do was like, oh my gosh, my left hand's going to fall off. And so I would take my hand off and try something new with it. Instead of just being on his penis, I would try something down around the scrotum and the perineal area and all that. And oh, he just moaned. Oh, that felt good. And then, oh, my other hand is cramping up. So I'd try something new. And the more I did, the more I realized, oh, you gotta mix it up for their benefit. It feels way like it's plain old up and down. Yeah, that's just really it's too boring to maintain. And it's not fun for us women. So as a result of creating all of these different techniques, and I created over 69 techniques to mostly save my hands and mix it up, but it ended up affecting my personal life. So in the bedroom, I was feeling more empowered. I all of a sudden had all these tools at my disposal in my sexual toolbox, if you will. And my personal life was fabulous after that. Like I wanted to initiate, I wanted to be assertive, to push a guy down on the bed and go, oh, honey, you just lay there. I got this. And know that I'm going to totally rock his world and blow his socks off. That was so empowering. And so, how I got into teaching all this is I thought, oh my gosh, I can't be the only one out there who doesn't know how to touch a guy's penis with that much, you know, um, skill. And so it turned out there was a whole lot of women out there who just don't really know how to touch it. I mean, they touch it with their genitals. A lot of people are having sex, but not a lot of women are actually touching the penis with their hands. So that's why I teach what I teach. That's how I got into it, was just, oh my gosh, this changed my life. And I want to change other women's lives because my life is so much more fun now.
I find it so fascinating because, all right, so here I am, a urogynecologist. I deal with vaginas all the time. And so people automatically think that I'm comfortable with sex and talking about sex. And deep down, I agree, I am very uncomfortable. And even though I want to normalize it, I think part of the problem is our society it's very prudish. And, we're people, we're humans, like everything else in our lives, we learn how to do and we get instruction. But when it comes to sex, it's like, oh, you just figure it out.
Right. Just let it come natural. Just explore, just be creative. Well, it's like if I was trying to be an electrician, I don't know. I don't even know where to start. Yeah, we take courses all the time to learn all sorts of things, but there's not a lot of really good education out there in terms of how to touch a person's body. Like in porn, I do not recommend that as education. That's entertainment, but it's not education. It's very inaccurate, and not representative of empowering women in the bedroom. So yeah, there seemed to, and I looked, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I'd had this information 20 years ago, my whole sex life would have been different. There's got to be teachers out there. And I looked, and there's not a lot, at least none of the teachers who were able to teach to the extent that I do when it comes to erotic massage. Like there's a few people demonstrating on cucumbers, 5 different techniques. And I just thought, oh my gosh, no one's covering this. There's the birds and the bees and the actual, okay, how A inserts into B, but there's more to sex than just intercourse. There's a whole lot better things that you can do than just intercourse. Way juicier, way more empowering, way more playful and creative. So that's what I'm all about, is let's open it up. Sex isn't just missionary position. It's not just intercourse.
That actually makes me laugh because I thought of a story that when I was a fellow in training, and we go in the office and we ask women when they come in for their yearlies, you're having any problems? Like, are you having any pain with intercourse? And I remember this one woman, she was 85 years old, and she was like, yeah, I'm having pain with intercourse. And I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, well, when's it happening? Is it with initial penetration? Is it with deep penetration? Was it what? And she looked at me and she's like, honey, she's like, my husband's so fat. She's like, he crushes me every time he gets on top of me and it's painful. So I was like, oh, okay, well, let's talk about some other techniques and other positions. And her response was, she's like, honey, I'm 85 years old. I can't get into that kinky stuff now. But there's so many people that just think like, okay, this is how you do it. And that's that. And they don't change it up, and they go their whole lives doing what they know, because you're right. We don't learn. And the only opportunities that many people have for learning is through pornography. And like you said, it's not a great representation of what's out there.
Yeah. And people just don't know what they don't know. Yeah. Most of the information out there, we don't even know that we don't know. So, when I come out and I went viral on TikTok, I've got 1.2 million followers on TikTok, and all the comments from all of the men and women are like, well, all you got to do is just like, spit on your hands and rub it and we're good. I'm like, oh, you don't even know. You don't even know what you're missing. So yeah, that's why I love your show, because you're all about the education.
Yeah.
People just don't know what they don't know. So we're here to let them know there's more options. There's way more options. And if anyone's feeling slightly disempowered in the bedroom, oh my gosh, there are options. There's ways to turn that around. And it's
You know,
easy, super, super easy things.
and the other thing is that a lot of people, when they think of sex, they think of just the genitals. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I know we were talking a lot about genitals, but I mean, your skin is your largest sex organ. I mean, it covers your whole body. So you could be
Yes.
stimulating neurotransmitter, neurochemicals, I get a little technical here, in the brain with a route that stimulate arousal and oxytocin and connection. Just you could be
Yes.
touching someone's earlobe and like be stimulating these things and even cause an orgasm, not touching the genitals.
Yes,
So
absolutely. I get that. I get emails all the time. Every week I've got a ton of emails from women who, like, they go to rockthebedroom.com, my website, and there's a free thing and they look at it and they're like, "What? What? It's that simple?" Like, it's just this light feather touch all over the whole body. The whole body. But then they try it with their partner and they're like, oh my gosh, you would not believe how much he squirmed. You would not believe what that opened up in the bedroom for us, like all the conversation that sparked, like just from touching the skin all over the body. It's all an erogenous zone if you're doing it right. So
yeah.
yeah, super, super simple.
And then at the same time, I try to tell patients too, your brain is your most important sex organ. So if your brain's not into it, it doesn't matter what you're doing downstairs because you could be doing all sorts of kind of crazy things. But if the brain's not like at least in the mood or like receptive, nothing else is going to follow. So
Yes,
I
absolutely.
I
And
always tell women we try to pride ourselves on multitasking, but sex is the one time you don't want to multitask. This is why men are so much better at it. I know that's a generalization. People are going to probably shoot me, but that's why, because they're good at getting a job done. We're like there and we're thinking about like, okay, what's for dinner and what do I got to do at work and who's taking, Jimmy to soccer and like, no, not bad time to be multitasking. Focus on what,
exactly.
yeah, focus on what you're
Yeah,
doing. And that'll help the brain.
absolutely. And so what I teach is getting the women to be the ones in charge. And when you're in charge and you're like focused on, okay, so I'm going to practice this technique that Lee taught me, and okay, so what did she say? Da, da, da. And they have to be focused. I deliberately put women in the position where they have to focus on what they're doing because they're sort of performing like they're the ones in charge. They're the ones who are eliciting these sensations, and so they have to focus. They're in the moment right then, and it's not that difficult. And I encourage women, like, if you do nothing else, go slow with whatever you're doing. It gives you time to think about what you're going to do next and how things are going. But in my world, slow equals moan. So you can slow down the thoughts, you can slow down your hands, you can slow down kissing, whatever you're doing. Slow everything down and it's going to feel way, way better for your guy. And you can slow your own brain down just by slowing everything down so that you're not multitasking. You can be just focused and present with your partner.
That is wonderful. I can't wait to find out some more advice from you when we come back from the commercial break. We're back with this fun conversation with, I love your email, like the lovely Lee Jagger. So thank you so much for being here, Lee. So
Oh my gosh, I'm really enjoying this. Thank you.
I want to get more into maybe some specifics. If you can give us like some examples of things that you teach in your course.
Yes.
So,
Okay, so I can give you a fun little I consider it a morning routine, but you can do this anytime. But I really love starting the if you start your day off like this, oh, you're gonna have a good day. So I call it seven in heaven. Um, and it's not really like what we used to do in high school, spin the bottle and spend 7 minutes in heaven in the closet with someone. But so when you first wake up and your partner's next to you, assuming that you've got a partner next to you. The first part, it's in 5 parts. First part is just make contact with your partner. And this incorporates the love languages, 4 of the 5 love languages. So the love languages are acts of service, touch, words of appreciation or affirmation, quality time, and gifts. So I left out gifts, a physical gift. So 4 of the 5 love languages are covered here. So initially you make contact, that is touch, love language. And so that's just, and it's a non-sexual touch, just spooning him or putting your head on his chest or draping your leg over his. If just making that contact initially, stay there for a minute, just, gently wake him up kind of thing with that touch. Then the second part, it's more of an act of service. So it would be, again, non-sexual, but an active touch. So you're either giving him a back scratch or a like a light massage or petting, but it's active touch, but it's still non-sexual. Because, and the reason why I'm specifically saying non-sexual is because it's really great idea to get in the habit with your partner of touching them, not only when you're just having sex. There's a lot of long-term couples who forget to touch each other other than when they're in bed and having sex. So it's really important to maintain that affection with your partner. It really keeps things alive and reminds them that you choose to be with them. And it's not just about sex, it's affection and kindness as well. So the third part is, here's where it starts to get a little juicier, is you place your hand over his genitals. You cover as much of his genitals as you can. And then you don't move your hand at all. Don't move a muscle. Just hold him. Not many men get to experience this, but it is so good. Like, it's so nourishing for the man. A lot of a man's identity is wrapped up in their genitals. And so when you pay attention to their genitals, then that's them feeling loved up. If you avoid their genitals, they feel rejected as a person. So this is the quality time part of a love language, putting your hands over his genitals and just holding them. The fourth part is eye gazing. So as you're holding his genitals, don't take your hand off. You look into his eyes, look into one eye. Don't be looking back and forth. It's a little distracting. And then just a gentle gaze. Just maintain that eye contact. A lot of people can't do that more than like 10 seconds. It feels awkward because we're not used to it, but it's very intimate. Very intimate. Like, people start crying when they do this. Like, it just starts knocking down walls when you maintain eye contact for like at least a minute. See if you can go 2 minutes. Like, it's harder than it sounds, but it's very, very intimate. That would be considered quality time as well with the love language. And then the fifth part is to say something that you love about him while you're holding his genitals, while you're still eye gazing. Just, and that's words of affirmation in the love language. So it just, when you say it, you definitely don't want to say it with the tone of, okay, so now it's your turn to tell me what you love about me. To just make it a gift. of what you love about him, what you appreciate about him, what you admire about him. All that takes about 5 to 7 minutes, but just being so intentional and present with your partner, that goes a long way in how filled up they feel. And when you make your partner feel so filled up and so adored, just watch what comes back to you. Like it's contagious. They're going to want to reciprocate in some way. So that's just a fun little morning routine that involves some touching of his genitals, but not in a way that makes him perform. That's why I said, don't move your hands. I mean, it'll probably lead to something else, which is totally fine. But to get in the habit of touching your guy's genitals without making him perform, that is something that a big part of what I teach is all the different ways to touch him that doesn't expect him to perform, but to just enjoy receiving your touch. That changes things. Like that takes men who have erectile dysfunction issues, and now they no longer have those issues because now you just let them off the hook to perform, and now they can just relax and enjoy. So if his erectile dysfunction issues are regarding performance, you just made a huge stride in helping him get over that without having to take pharmaceuticals. So
That is amazing. You know, I was actually thinking too, because I'm about some things that my patients bring up, but I hear a lot that women are just even scared to touch because they're afraid to start something because they're
yes,
like, everyone thinks that if you're going to, any kind of touch always has to end up with intercourse. And especially I deal with a lot of women who are perimenopausal, menopausal, and they start getting some vaginal dryness, and then sex can be a little more painful. So they tend to like avoid all touch because they're like, I don't want to get it started because I don't want it ending in this other stuff. But that's a whole other
exactly.
subject that there's lots of things we can do to get that better. But yeah,
But
how do you,
yes,
yeah,
I hear that all the time. And that, I mean, that hurts men when they're like, she never touches me anymore. And they don't get that that's because every time she does touch, you're just like, because
yeah,
he's so starved that he's taken any kind of affection as green light for all the affection he could possibly squeeze in, which I mean, his favorite way to be affectionate to us is to have sex with us. And so the reason why I bring up the whole touch him and don't expect him to perform, and it's also training him that, hey, I'm going to touch you and it's not going to lead to anything. We're just going to enjoy the delicious sensations. And even when I teach the massage techniques, he doesn't have to have an orgasm. It doesn't have to be reciprocated. She doesn't have to have intercourse with him. Like it's just touching for the sake of touching, for the sake of the sensation, not as a means to an end. And so it requires training both the woman and the man to understand that even touching genitals doesn't need to lead to anything else other than just feeling good, because that feels good to just touch me there or touch you there. So it does take some training, but it's super, super important, because when a woman doesn't feel like she's going to be pressured to have sex when she doesn't want to, then she's going to be way more affectionate and way more open with her love and her touching. And guys love that, because as far as love languages go, touch is one of the top two. It ties with words of affirmation. As far as like top love language, touch is right up there. So to deny a man touch, that's hard for them. So men are not going to understand that, like, they're just trying to get all the affection they can get, especially if they feel a little starved for it. So it requires women educating their guy to let them know, hey, this is why I don't touch you. So if we can take sex off the docket here for a moment, I'm going to really love on you. I would like to let's have a 20-minute makeout session where we're just making out. Like, when's the last time we did that? For a lot of couples, that's been a long time. And yet it's so juicy. And for women who are not feeling like having sex for not medical reasons, like vaginal dryness, I get that. That's just painful. But if they're just not in the mood, then touching without an end goal in mind, like without it leading to sex, by just getting into that habit of non-sexual touching, that will turn her on. Or if the guy's not really, he's never in the mood, that will turn him on because there's no expectation of it going anywhere. So then you can relax and enjoy it. And then, oh my gosh, now I'm in the mood. Go figure. So yes, more non-sexual touching, please. That will lead to more healthy sexual touching and a lot more consent.
It's funny. I was also thinking, because you got my mind racing. I got so many questions. I was actually thinking about the story when you're talking about how your hands cramped up. And I actually have weakness in my right hand after a car accident. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I haven't massaged like a bunch of people in one day without my hand cramping. My hand cramps like within 5-10 minutes of anything. So
Right. Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, the good news is with erotic massage, most of the touching is very light. Like it's not a death grip around his penis at all. There are firmer touches, but you strain your hands more just like typing out an email than you do with erotic massage the way I teach it, because there's just so much that you can do that doesn't really strain your hands at all. So good news. That's a great point that some people, they've got arthritis, and there's a woman, Lois, who is married for 53 years so far to the same man. And she's got lots of arthritis in her hands. I've seen her hands, like they're just gnarly. And she does the erotic massage. She took my erotic massage mastery course, which is the big course, so all the techniques, and she loves it. She's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like I can do all of this stuff. Plus it opened up new conversations that she'd never had with her husband after 53 years of having really great conversations, like open communication. But even her, having conversations she's never had just by being able to touch her husband in new ways, arthritic hands and all. Love it. Love it.
that is absolutely amazing. This is, and like looking back at your life, would you ever imagine that this is what you'd be doing?
No, you could not. The day before I got that phone call, you could not have convinced me that I would ever have done that, let alone made this my career. And like, not just, I'm not doing this because of the money or because of some kind of, for any other purpose other than, oh my gosh, I love this so much. I love elevating women and just making women feel comfortable in the bedroom. Like nothing juices me up more than that. So I could not have seen that my life purpose, my mission would be involving educating women about the penis. I never wanted to go there ever personally. So it's quite ironic to me that this is my expertise.
And I have to say, on the other note, I never thought I'd be looking at vaginas all day long. That was definitely not on my list of things.
Right. Right.
So,
I totally, but I mean, that's not one thing we think of in the 5th grade. Like, oh yeah, what do you want to be when you grow up? No, that's not exactly, but I got hooked on like empowering women to watch a woman go from really shy, no confidence in the bedroom. Like my client, Heather, 30 years married. She had never touched her man's penis ever with her hands. Lots of sex, never touched her man's penis with her hands. And that changed everything for them when she went through my course and started doing that. And it changed how loved he felt. And it changed how empowered she felt in the bedroom. I am all about being empowered in the bedroom, which is in the bedroom, that's where we feel our least powerful as women, typically, not always, but I mean, historically, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
historically that was the man's domain. So for me to empower women in that room, it doesn't get any better than that. It's totally a selfish pursuit on my on my part to empower and inspire women to put on their big girl panties in the bedroom.
If there's one thing that you want people to try more of, since that's our theme this season, what would it be?
Try more, I would say, like openness in their sex lives, like being open to discovering something you didn't even know existed. Like being, instead of writing off, so for those women who are like, oh yeah, sex is obligatory for me, it's a chore, I don't like sex. Try being open to discovering that sex can be something completely different that you don't even know about yet, that you can actually enjoy. So I really encourage like everybody, men and women, to try new things in the bedroom. Be open to being surprised, being open to being wrong about what you thought sex really could be.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Lee, for being with us. Where can people find out information about you?
So my website is rockthebedroom.com. You can find out about me and all my courses there. There's a little free sample training that you can try out just to get a handle on what I teach and how I teach, and the fact that it's not raunchy, and it's very educational and professional and all that. So yeah, rockthebedroom.com is where you find out about me.
Awesome. Thank you. So make sure everybody you go check that out. Also, while you're there, also don't forget to check out WYTV7.org. Look at all the other program we have. And while you're there, make sure you hit the donate button, because that button helps us bring great programs like this today, and also helps us with our community events. You can see all the different community things that we're involved in. And don't forget to tune in again next week at this time to Body, Mind, Spirit Show with me. Follow me on social media. And once again, thank you so much, Lee, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.